You are born beneath the burning skies of Spain, in Valladolid, in the autumn of 1601. They name you Ana Maria Mauricia, and, the little Infanta of Spain. Your cradle is gilded, your sheets embroidered with gold thread, yet no comfort of silk can soften the truth. From your first breath, you belong not to yourself, but to dynasties. Your father, King Philip III of Spain, rules half the known world, but he rules you most completely. His eyes are distant, always weighed down by matters of empire, alliances, wars, treaties. Your mother, Margaret of Austria, is gentle and warm, her hands smelling faintly of rose water as she strokes your hair. She calls you mi pequeña estrella, my little star. But her light fades too soon. In 1611, when you are barely 10, she dies giving birth to your youngest brother. With her passes the last shield between you and your father's political designs. The cathedral bells of Bordeaux fall silent, but their echo lingers in your chest. You are only 14, yet they already call you La Reine de France. The title fits uneasily on your shoulders, heavier than the crown they pressed into your trembling hands. From the very beginning, France feels less like home and more like exile. The language curls around you like an unfamiliar melody, soft, elegant, and sharp all at once. Your Spanish tongue trips, stumbles. Every word you speak betrays you as foreign. Courtiers whisper behind jeweled fans, the Spanish girl. The Habsburg pawn. The dark one. Louis is no comfort. In the days after your wedding, he spends his mornings hunting, his afternoons training hawks, his evenings in silence. When protocol demands you appear together, he speaks in short answers, his eyes always sliding away from yours. At night, when the marriage bed looms, he lingers until the candles have burned low, entering only when he can no longer delay. He lies stiffly beside you, as though sharing the sheets is a punishment. There are nights he does not come at all. You try to bridge the distance. You ask him about music, about gardens, about faith. He answers in single syllables, as if every word costs him more than he wishes to spend. You tell him of Valencia's orange groves, of the sunlight in Spain, of your mother's soft voice singing you to sleep. He turns away. You reach for his hand in the dark. He pulls it back. Your loneliness grows, vast as the echoing halls of the Louvre. Marie de Medici, your mother-in-law, does not help. She still rules the kingdom in her son's name, and she sees you not as a daughter but as an intruder. Her Italian eyes study you with suspicion. A Spanish queen, she mutters to her advisers, means Spanish spies. She keeps her sons close, her court closer, and you on the outer edge of both. You cling to the few Spanish attendants allowed to remain with you, their presence a fragile thread to the home you lost. Dona Estefa comforts you when the court whispers cut too deep. Dona Catalina helps you with French, smoothing your accent until you can at least defend yourself in the language of your captors. But even these women are slowly taken from you, one by one, dismissed on charges of being too Spanish, until you are surrounded entirely by strangers. The French ladies laugh at your stiff Spanish gowns, whispering that your high collars hide a proud neck. They mock your piety, your love of silence, your reluctance to plunge into the flirtations and intrigues that amuse them. At dances, you are clumsy in the foreign steps, always a beat behind. You feel yourself shrinking, smaller and smaller, until you are little more than a shadow in your own life. And yet the court watches you, always. Every glance you exchange, every smile, every silence becomes fodder for gossip. When Louis avoids your touch, they whisper that the marriage will never produce an heir. When you attempt conversation, they say you are desperate for affection. When you remain quiet, they call you cold. You cannot win. At night, when the candles are blown out and only the stone walls hear your sobs, you pray. You pray for your mother, for the warmth of Spain, for a husband who might someday see you not as a burden but as a partner. Months pass. Seasons change. But your marriage remains frozen. Louis is a boy king still trapped in childhood. His passion is reserved for the hunt, for hawks that fly free while you remain caged. He listens more to his mother's ministers than to you, more to his falconer than to his wife. The bond between you, so carefully crafted on paper by diplomats, never takes root in flesh and blood. Your body is monitored constantly. Every month without pregnancy draws whispers thicker than smoke. Courtiers glance at your waist, your belly, measuring absence. You are 14, then 15, then 16, still only a girl, yet already condemned for failing to produce a son. They forget, or perhaps do not care, that children cannot bear children. And so the loneliness hardens inside you, like ice forming on a river. You begin to smile less, to speak less. You learn to wear a mask as elaborate as any gown, serene, composed, untouchable. Behind it, your heart aches, but the court will never see your tears. You recall your brother's words at the Isle of Pheasants, be brave. You are Habsburg blood. And you try. You remind yourself that your grandmother was the great Anna of Austria before you, that your lineage stretches back to emperors. You tell yourself you are more than this cold exile, more than this boy's indifference. But sometimes, late at night, when even your prayers feel unanswered, you wonder, will I always be a stranger in my own marriage? Will I ever belong to anything but politics? The French call you queen, but you feel more prisoner than sovereign. And yet, deep inside, the seed of defiance stirs. If love will not be given to you, you will learn to survive without it. If France will not be home, you will build a world of your own within its walls. The child who fed crumbs to peacocks in Madrid is gone. In her place grows a woman, lonely, yes, but unbroken. The first years of your marriage are not defined by love, but by silence. Yet the silence around you is deceptive, for the French court is never quiet. Behind every curtain, beneath every bow, whispers stir like serpents. The Louvre and the palaces of Paris breathe intrigue. Courtiers circle you with calculated smiles, measuring every blink of your eyes, every hesitation in your voice. You are the Queen of France in name, but they see you as foreign, Spanish, dangerous. The daughter of Philip III, the niece of powerful Habsburg emperors, surely you must harbor loyalties stronger than your marriage to a boy who will not even hold your hand. And in truth, do you not? At night, when you kneel in prayer, your whispered words drift toward Spain as much as toward heaven. You dream of your brothers, of the orange groves of Valencia, of the sunlit stones of Madrid. You write letters in careful code, words that cross borders carried by secret couriers. You tell yourself they are innocent, letters to family, a daughter's longing. But in the eyes of the French, every Spanish word becomes a potential weapon. Marie de Medici keeps you under her gaze, her suspicion sharp as any blade. She controls her son, your husband, as tightly as she controls the purse of France. And though Louis wears the crown, he still trembles beneath her shadow. You try to speak with him sometimes, to remind him you are both children thrust into a world of wolves, but he retreats behind walls no hand can break. You are left to navigate the labyrinth of French politics alone. Your greatest rival soon reveals herself, Cardinal Richelieu, the man who will become the beating heart of France's power. At first, he is but another ambitious cleric at court, but his cunning is like a tide, slow, inevitable, eroding stone. He sees you, young and foreign, as a threat to his vision of France's greatness. To Richelieu, you are not a woman, not even a queen, but a piece on the board of Europe, a potential spy for Spain. Every step you take is watched. Every friendship is weighed. When you laugh with a lady too fond of Spanish poetry, whispers grow, the queen conspires with Madrid. When you write to your brother, the air hums with accusations, the queen betrays France. And yet, you endure, you find small refuges. The gardens of the Louvre, though colder than Spain, still hold pockets of peace. Among the roses, you breathe more freely, pretending for a moment that you are just Anne, not queen, not pawn. You surround yourself with a few trusted souls, women who, despite their own ambitions, offer you comfort in a world of daggers. But even in comfort, danger coils. The French ladies teach you their games of flirtation, their sly glances across banquets. They speak of love as though it were a hunt, of men as prey to be captured with a smile. You listen, half fascinated, half scandalized. In Spain, love was bound in silence and duty; here, it is a theatre. One name begins to circle near yours, the Duke of Buckingham, George Villiers of England. When he visits France, his gaze lingers on you, bold and unashamed. He speaks to you not as a stranger, not as a pawn, but as though you are a woman worth seeing. His flattery burns through the frost of your husband's indifference. For a moment, just a moment, you feel alive, desired. But even this spark, innocent or not, becomes ammunition. Rumors spread like wildfire, the Queen of France entertains the English Duke. You deny it, your honor wounded, but the whispers are louder than your voice. Richelieu seizes upon them, feeding suspicion to the king, fanning flames until even Louis, who never truly looked at you, begins to see shadows where none exist. The irony cuts deep. Your marriage is barren not because you reject your husband, but because he rejects you. And yet you are the one accused of betrayal. Still, you do not collapse. You remember your brother's words, "Be brave, little Infanta." You remember your mother's strength, her quiet dignity even in the face of death. You remember that you are Habsburg blood, born to withstand the tempests of empires. So you learn the art of patience. You bow when required, but never break. You let the courtiers think you are timid, distant, lost in prayer, while inside, you are listening, learning, weaving threads of survival. If Louis will not give you love, you will carve out power in other ways. If Richelieu paints you as an enemy, you will endure until his hand falters. There are moments of light amid the shadows. When the king falls ill in 1619, you sit at his bedside despite your cold marriage, fulfilling your duty with quiet loyalty. When famine strikes, you visit the poor, your presence bringing them solace. Slowly, whispers change, perhaps the queen is not cold, not foreign, not enemy, but simply misunderstood. Yet still, the court remains a cage. You walk its glittering halls, chandeliers blazing, gowns sparkling with jewels, but inside you carry the ache of a childhood stolen. Sometimes, late at night, you touch the rosary your mother once held, its beads smooth beneath your fingers, and you whisper the truth only God will hear, "I am alone." But you also whisper something else, something fiercer, something born of the fire that has always burned beneath the brocade and crowns, "I will survive." Because though France may try to erase Anna Maria Mauritia and remake you into Anne, Queen of France, deep within, the little girl who once ran barefoot through orange groves still breathes. And she is stronger than they know. You are still a child, clinging to dolls and feeding crumbs to the peacocks in the gardens of Madrid's Alcazar. Yet in the same gardens, beneath cypress trees and whispering fountains, your father delivers the words that shatter your childhood: "You will be Queen of France." Not do you wish. Not are you ready. Just you will. The words fall like heavy stones into your heart. France. An enemy kingdom for centuries. A place you've never seen, where they speak a language that sounds like rushing water. You are only 11 years old. What do you know of being queen? The court buzzes with preparations. Treaties are drawn. Letters fly across Europe, sealed with wax and dripping with calculation. The marriage contract is signed in August 1612. Your dowry, 500,000 crowns. The price of your childhood. From that moment, your life is rehearsed like a play you never auditioned for. Portraits are exchanged, painted images meant to serve as introductions where words and affection never will. You sit for painters who adjust your posture, smooth your features, and paint you into the image of a perfect Habsburg bride, pale, obedient, fertile. In return arrives the portrait of your husband-to-be, Louis, King of France, though only a boy like you. The painting shows sad eyes above a weak chin, lace spilling from every seam of his doublet. You study his face, searching for kindness, searching for something human behind the powdered mask. But rumors are cruel. He is sickly, withdrawn, more interested in hawks and hounds than in people. His mother, Marie de Medici, holds real power while he remains a pawn, just like you. Still, the machinery of dynasty grinds forward. In October 1615, the day of your proxy wedding dawns in Burgos. The cathedral is cold, vast, echoing. A throne draped with French lilies sits empty before you, for your bridegroom is far away. Instead, your brother Philip stands in his place. The Archbishop of Burgos presides, Latin flowing endlessly, solemn and suffocating. You wear your mother's altered wedding gown, gold brocade heavy as chains across your thin shoulders. At the words of the ceremony, you pledge yourself not to a boy, not to a man, not even to a face, but to absence itself. You speak vows that bind you across borders, across languages, across the rest of your life. The crowd cheers, Spain rejoices. But in your heart, there is only silence. And then begins the long journey north. 40 days in carriages that rattle your bones, through rain that soaks every cloak, across landscapes that grow colder, harsher, stranger. At night, you cry into your pillows, and your ladies-in-waiting, faithful Spanish women who love you like daughters, sing lullabies to soothe you. At the Isle of Pheasants, the exchange takes place, the cruelest ceremony of all. It is November, and the river winds cut through your cloak. On one side, Spain, on the other, France. In the center, a neutral island where you will no longer belong to either. Your brother embraces you one last time, his eyes brimming with tears he dares not let fall. Be brave, little Infanta, he whispers. Remember, you are Habsburg blood. Then he turns, and the Spanish attendants step back. One by one, they are stripped away from you. Dona Estefa, who held your hand at night. Dona Catalina, who taught you French. Little Maria, your dwarf companion who made you laugh when no one else could. They are forced to remain behind. You are allowed no comfort from home, no reminders of Spain. You walk across the wooden platform to the French side, your small steps echoing in the cold. Behind you, your old life is sealed off forever. Ahead of you lies exile, duty, and a boy husband you barely know. On that same bridge, another princess crosses in the opposite direction, Elizabeth of France, traded to Spain as you are traded to France. You glimpse her tear-streaked face as she passes, two young girls exchanging fates like prisoners of war. Neither will ever return to the sunlit lands of their childhood. When at last you arrive in Bordeaux, the French court greets you with a blinding display of color and sound. The women's gowns are scandalous to Spanish eyes, necklines plunging so low you feel embarrassed to look. Their hair is tortured into towers of curls, pinned with jewels heavy enough to break the neck. Laughter and chatter fill the air, but not in Spanish. You are an outsider, an exhibit on display. Marie de Medici, your new mother-in-law, examines you as one might inspect a horse. She circles you slowly, lips pursed, eyes sharp. She is smaller than expected, she murmurs. And darker. But her teeth are good. She will breed well enough, God willing. You stand still, your heart racing, the insult burning, but you dare not respond. A queen in training learns silence early. And then, finally, he appears, your husband. Louis, the boy king of France. He is only 5 days older than you, born the same September of 1601. Destiny, the courtiers whisper. Fate itself, they say. But destiny does not smile at you. Destiny does not meet your eyes. His lips brush your cheek in the coldest of kisses, dry as paper, before turning away to speak of hunting hawks. The court applauds. The performance is complete. You are now his wife, his queen, his possession. Yet as you sit beside him through the endless wedding feast, 7 hours of rich food you cannot stomach, 7 hours of his silence, you realize the truth. You are married not to a partner, not to a friend, but to a stranger. And worse than that, to a stranger who does not wish to know you. Years pass. The girl who once trembled beneath a Spanish crown has grown into a woman. But not in the way the world expected. They thought you would fade, dissolve like sugar in foreign wine. That you would remain a decorative ghost beside your husband, silent and obedient. But Anne of Austria, once Anna Maria Mauritia, has learned to survive in silence, to build strength in solitude. Yet survival is never easy. By the 1620s, your marriage to Louis XIII remains cold. Though you live beneath the same gilded ceilings, your hearts are as far apart as the mountains between France and Spain. Louis is distant, often away with his soldiers or cloistered with his advisors. When he does return, the air between you is tight, heavy with all the words neither of you can say. You are now in your 20s. Still childless. And still, the court watches your womb as if it were a battlefield. Every month without a child becomes a national crisis. Every rumor of illness or sadness becomes a weapon. Some whisper you are cursed. Others say God withholds his blessing because you remain Spanish in soul. In truth, it is not God who withholds. It is Louis. He visits your bed only rarely. Some say he fears fatherhood. Others claim he finds more warmth in the company of his male companions than in that of his wife. You never ask. To ask would be to wound your own dignity. And yet, miraculously, in 1628, after more than a decade of humiliation, you conceive. The news ripples through France like a storm. Joy. Shock. Suspicion. How could it be, after so many years of a cold bed, that the Queen now carries a child? Some rejoice. Others whisper once more of Buckingham, of Spanish lovers, of secret sins. Richelieu's spies sharpen their pens. You do not weep. You carry the child with the grace of your mother, with the quiet dignity of every woman who has borne the weight of rumor and continued forward. In September 1638, after a difficult pregnancy, you give birth to a son, Louis XIII. Louis the God-given. France celebrates. Bells ring in every cathedral. Louis XIII, who once could not look you in the eyes, now kneels beside your bed and thanks God. You are 37 years old, and for the first time, they look at you not as a failure, not as a foreigner, but as a mother of the future King of France. But even this triumph is bittersweet. Because deep down, you know the truth, this child is not the product of love. He is the product of duty, of endurance, of a marriage built on treaties instead of tenderness. And though you will love him with every breath in your body, you will also carry the sorrow of knowing that your own youth was never yours. Still, you rise. With motherhood comes a new kind of power. Slowly, you begin to assert yourself at court. You no longer hide behind the Spanish veil of shyness. You speak, you advise. You protect your son. You begin to understand that power does not always roar. Sometimes, it whispers. Sometimes, it waits. Sometimes, it survives long enough to outlast its enemies. Richelieu continues to view you with suspicion, but you learn to play the game. You smile at him while shielding your heart. You sign documents with your right hand while crossing yourself with your left. You become fluent not only in French, but in deception, diplomacy, and endurance. You watch your husband grow older, more brittle, more consumed by the machinery of war and politics. You watch your son grow, the tiny boy who will one day become Louis XIV, the Sun King. And you vow that he will never know the coldness you endured. But fate is never kind for long. In 1643, Louis XIII dies. Your marriage ends not in reconciliation, but in ritual. You are now a widow. And yet, for the first time, you are free. As Queen Regent, you rule France on behalf of your son. The court that once mocked you now kneels. The council that once ignored you now listens. You are no longer the frightened girl from Valladolid. You are the Queen Mother of France. And yet, even in your power, your heart remembers. You remember the island of pheasants, where your brother kissed your forehead and told you to be brave. You remember the proxy wedding, the empty chair, the gold gown too heavy for a child. You remember the first time you saw your husband's eyes slide away from yours. You remember the tears of Elizabeth of France, the princess who crossed the bridge in the other direction. You remember your mother's soft voice, long silenced by death. You remember your lost childhood. And though France will remember you as a queen, a regent, a mother of kings, you will always remember yourself as the little girl who never got to choose. But perhaps, in the end, that is your triumph. Because though you were married at 14 to a stranger, though you were exiled, silenced, accused, and alone, though love never bloomed where duty was planted, you endured, you carried the crown with dignity. You protected your child. You navigated a court of knives without shedding your soul. You turned your exile into empire. And somewhere, in the quiet hours of the night, when your ladies have left and the palace sleeps, you kneel at your bedside and whisper not to kings or cardinals, but to the girl you once were. You did not break. You smile. Because in the end, you may not have chosen this life, but you lived it bravely.